We have a dual economy. So you have where the less fortunate or the hustler mentality takes over. There are a number of challenges in all directions. It was a very costly learning experience, to say the least. Real estate is not something that we should own. That's somebody else's business. We're operators. We as a nation have a way of not necessarily wanting to accept what is international standard. We somehow believe that our standards are higher and that is what needs to be maintained. So the costs are driven by these standards. But sad to say, we have a dual economy. So you have where the less fortunate or the hustler mentality takes over and the authorities don't apply the same standards to those levels of businesses as they do to yours. So you're sitting there and having to maintain a certain standard where your competitor doesn't, and they get the business because they don't have to, because the end result is they're much less expensive than you. So the challenges have been across the board. And lobbying is a constant part of, you hear this and you hear that, but it doesn't really go anywhere. MegaMart was conceptualized by me in Jamaica based around what is known as the big box stores, which existed long before us in North America and in Europe. So we decided that it was time that the Caribbean and Jamaica in particular had a store like that, because I watched the concept develop and mature in America, where you did your entire shopping and services under one roof. So I had some friends from China, Hong Kong, and I said that this is something that I would like to pursue in Jamaica, because I really believe that Jamaica is now ready for this kind of shopping. And they said to me, well, if you're serious, we'd like to invest with you in it. At the time, UDC had some lands over in Portmore which they were divesting for development. And we identified that as the first area where we would like to have put a store like this, because Portmore had the density of population, so we figured that it would be an ideal start based on the numbers. And it was very successful when we launched it. We learned a lot because we had never been in the food business, and I had wanted to be number one in food. Displays, fixtures, the whole thing, we wanted to be a cut above the rest. So it was a very costly learning experience, to say the least. But it was a very challenging and rewarding experience at the end of it. Having digested Portmore, we moved on to Waterloo Road. Portmore was 99. So in 2004, we got the opportunity to open on Waterloo Road. So we did that store, and that propelled us even further to want to build out a national chain. In about 05, 06, the UDC actually called us and said, look, we hear that you're looking for property down in Montego Bay, and we'd like to be considered. We have some lands down there, and we'd like you to look at them. At the time, I said to the chairman, who was then Dr. Lawrence, I said, but Dr. Lawrence, I believe that we're looking in Ironshore, and you're offering us the other side of town. He said, but I'm telling you that Montego Bay is going to develop that way. I said, well, okay. So we went and looked at the land. We subsequently bought the land and developed it down there and opened that store in 07. That actually is our biggest store. It's up 100,000 square foot, or 96,000 square feet. Never regretted it. I think Montego Bay has been a very powerful town for us, city rather. You can't call Moby a town. And then on to Mandeville in 2012, which sort of anchors the whole island, because you now have the West, Kingston, and then the center. So it's been I want to say like every 4 years we've opened a store, which is about the time it takes to digest one of these things. When we first opened, there was no such thing as bank loans in those days. It was the height of FinSac. Things were a lot different in Jamaica, so you couldn't get a bank loan for a business. So what ended up happening was we had to do all the financing ourselves. Subsequent to that, as we've gone along, we've actually pioneered a lot of the finance around these sort of ventures, because in 2010, we owned all our real estate and we packaged it and said, real estate is not something that we should own. That's somebody else's business. We're operators. So we packaged it all up and sold it to a group of pension funds. And they get a return on that investment, because that's how it's done in the first world. But that could only happen as the financial markets in Jamaica matured to that point. So basically we kind of wrote the history on that sale and lease back, which a lot of other companies have done since, and successfully so. But it's been a very challenging but rewarding experience. That's how I would put it.